It can be a lonely place, eh?
Yeah, I can imagine if you're not looking at anybody, you're thinking, is there actually anybody looking at me? They've all fallen asleep.
Are they there? Is anybody there? Yeah, cool. Eh? So yeah, well, today for us tonight on the Gold Coast, we're going to. Well, by the way, I'm Wolfgang. I think most people have seen us or heard of us before. We're the Mischief Makers.
Fancy.
A fan
Look
club.
at that fancy guide there that Stefan's got. Wow, it's a stackable guide.
How do you make this?
Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
so that's great. That's great. It's always nice to see a good turnout of people and get together with like common interests. Yeah, so all right, today it's the VertXsplit. We've been working on this thing for a couple of months and it's been driving us crazy. I've got a whole bag full of prints here until we got it, to the stage where we can say, okay, this is now working. We got the snap factor.
In all fairness, Wolfgang, this was more your baby than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah.
So while you said you were working hard, you were printing all. Where's that bag? Show us all the bag of dies.
This is just one of the. Yeah. So you can ask, why did we bother? Why do we, make a mold? This is like old school stuff. When I first started training, they had this kind of a base for plaster. And I won't mention names and things like that, but I'm sure you guys know. And basically, the gallo dies. Yeah, you've got two variables there because you've got the hole and you've got the die. And when the print timing isn't quite perfect, you've got the hole actually growing inwards, going smaller, and the die is actually going bigger. So you've got those two variables. And I've gone into other labs and I've looked at their models and some of them are going too deep and others are, so we thought, okay, let's just try and something else, something old school. And so here we are tonight and we'll just demo that. And I'll throw it into Michael's court now from here on. All right, Michael, so good luck with that.
Well, you can do the talking, eh? So anyway.
Yeah.
Let's share the screen. Let's have a look.
Okay, by the way, if you got any questions, just type away or, just feel free to ask or raise your hand or something like that.
All right, these are Ivan's nice models. We take them into the center of Blender as we usually do, and for good reason. And this is even more of a reason because these vertex inserts are in the center of Blender. So we won't get away taking shortcuts there. Also, we've made model bases. So you've got it. You can't work with an open scan. You need a base, a model base. Now, Wolfgan's, you've made quite a few cutters and inserts. Can you explain? I'm going to open up the components module. Now, if you don't have the components module, you can still do it. You can import the STL or OBJ files. That's fine. It still works. But of course, with the components module, we can actually see what we are trying to choose, as we've got over here.
Yeah, so just push the thumbnail images and then you can import those into the scene.
Let me make these thumbnail images a little bit larger because they're a little bit small for my liking. If you want to change that, go into the simple asset manager and where it says display preview, put that to 8 or 10 or whatever, and then save it. Okay. So yeah, okay, so we've got an immediate effect. They are all larger now, which is quite cool.
Yeah, so the blue one is obviously it's the sprocketed or serrated insert that fits into the plastic injection mold, okay? Then next to that, we've got a series of different, we call them trimmers or cutting tools because we've got to like I mean, yeah, you can lasso cut the model down so it eventually fits onto the insert. But we figured, hey, you know what, we need a quicker way. So we've developed those cutting tools there. And then if you've got larger models, it's a very quick procedure to trim them down so that we can then unify the model directly onto that serrated insert. So Mike will demonstrate, maybe just grab one of those and just cut the model down and then unify it to it.
All right, so we always start with the blue insert, but one thing that we have to do is we have to put these things into collections, and this is vitally important, and I'll just open that up. And that's because we need to also unify these, not unify, link these models, because when we're doing the cutting and everything, we want everything to happen in one go. Okay, and of course we need a name for these models, because at the moment that it's called Bridge 01, so Blender's not going to find it. So if you've got one model, you'll select one. If you've got two models, shift left click to choose the other one. And then we're going to move the models into collection, and it's moved it into the vertex model collection. And note that they are linked up now. Okay, so the orange line goes all the way around it, so it's linked up. So we're going to go into the components module, and we're going to choose the insert, and we're going to append that into the center of Blender. Now that goes straight into the center of the model. And what we're going to do then from there, we're going to select this one, and we're going to then click on this place selected lower insert. Okay, so when we push that one, it brings it into a certain position, and we can see it from the front view. So Wolf, just explain to us why we're putting it to that specific location.
Yeah, so
yeah,
so the plan is we're going to, and this is still in development, this plastic injection model base will have another component to that. We call that the articulator mounting plate. So the articulator mounting plate stays on your articulator, and that's got a magnet system with this base. And by actually, by putting it down below the horizontal, the upper one will then, Michael will show in a minute, will also come into that same position, but the inverse. So if you have a 20 millimeters below the horizontal, the upper one will also go 20 mils above the horizontal. And in so doing, you can then lock in that position for any patient, any articulation, and so on. But yeah, so we'll get to that in a minute. Here we go.
Yeah. So these are standard height apart, that in the future we can just keep it on articulator. Every patient will snap into this thing, and it'll always be the same thing. No need to articulate anymore because it's all been worked out.
Yeah.
So of course now, for example, we may want to move them because we may find, okay, the dies are too short or too long. So this is basically the first thing that we do. It comes in the front, and then we've got these locks. And as we know with Blender, we've got these locks in the item menu over there, but we can easily unlock it. So if I unlock it like this, I can move this up and down. Okay, so we get to choose how long we want the dies, and I'm looking at this specific portion over here and over there at the back. And the same thing on this side, we can unlock it, okay, and we can lock it.
Yeah, so ideally we want to keep it fairly short.
Yeah, so we're looking at from the front, we're setting them, and then the next step is we're going to align the models into this, okay, so we're going to align that. And this gives us a lower view from the top. It's very similar to the study models. So we are in transparent mode. If I use the G key, I can move this around, and my objective is to get this in this cavity. So I'm looking at this cavity in transparent, and I'm trying to align that sort of that the teeth are over this cavity, which we can see like this. It's more or less aligned where we want it. But we can take this further, and we can then do this as well. So I'm looking at the long axis of the teeth over here, and we can still move it at this stage. We can move it up or down, and the models are all linked at this stage. Okay. So once we've got this, we're going to, once we're happy with this, we're going to bring in our cutters. Okay, so we're going to go back to the component module.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Michael, maybe take the medium size, because that's got some borders going upwards.
the medium size
Yeah.
is over,
The
which one is
second,
that?
the
This
second
one?
one. No, the second one. Yeah, that's it. No, yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
And can you explain also to us the depth? Maybe we can bring in these separate afterwards just to explain.
Okay, so if you've got dies, for example, you've got the teeth are jutting anteriorly forward. One of those cutters has got an opening in front and it's got heels at the back. Then we've got the overlapping one. So if you've got an overly large dental model, you'll use the overlap. So the serrated insert will still fit into the cavity, but it will overlap the actual plastic injection mold slightly. So that eliminates us to immediately come out with another mold, which is larger size or overly large size. So we've got 3. So we thought, okay, let's just stay with one size model base, and then we can still work with larger size models just by overlapping it slightly.
Yeah, so now that we've got 2 models, we need 2 of these. And that's quite easy to do. We have this one selected, and we're then going to duplicate this model trimmer. So this makes 2. And from here, we're going to snap them. So, and that's automatic, because as soon as I click, I'll choose one. You can choose one or the other. You can snap it to either the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter. So this one here, I'm going to snap the trimmer to the upper insert. And I'm going to select this one and snap it to the lower insert. Notice that it snaps it exactly where it should be. So if I look at it in the front view, yeah, and we zoom in close, well, can you just explain to us how this works then? We've got a line over here.
So you've got the first part of the first step of the insert, the blue insert, is like virtually the mounting area. Everything below that will be trimmed by the cutter. So when Michael's finished the cut, you'll clearly see all of the excess will be trimmed away.
So we're looking at the excess over here. That's all going to be trimmed away also on the top. Okay, let's see how this works. So we're going to trim around models. We'll just wait for it. Now these are standard Boolean cuts, and this is trimmed nicely. Notice how it's actually trimmed away all around it.
Can you go into edit mode to show the mesh, Michael? The differences in the mesh. Or
like
after
this,
you've unified it. Yeah. So you can see we've got various structures in the mesh here. Yeah, all right.
Okay.
The mesh is rather simplistic, especially in the insert, to speed up the cutting processes.
Yeah, so then we're going to click on Unify. We'll just wait for it to unify, and let's put these objects together. So that's looking quite good. I'll just bring in the insert to show the actual component, just to see. We don't have that in the component module, but file import STL desktop. Okay, so this is basically the plastic injection mold, and then that would then fit in there like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all good like that. All right, so from there we would then ditch. Okay, and we would then cut the model. So I'm going to look at it from the bottom upwards, and we're going to place the cursor, and the model designer, we're going to go to the vertex cutter. So vertex cutter, using the G key and then the E key to extrude like that, and then Shift D, E key, left click, Shift D to duplicate, E key to extrude, and then Shift D again. We can make another one, E key to extrude. So it's very, very easy, and it follows this exact same way as we're using a saw in the dental lab. So Shift D, extrude, and then one more time, Shift D. And by the way, you don't have to, you can go zigzag. You don't have to go in one piece, because sometimes the dies are like quite difficult. Then you have to, like, you know, you can just go zigzag if you have to. Okay, based on that, we're going to make a slice. So we've got a very similar menu in the crown and bridge work module, which does exactly the same thing. Now, Wolfgang, can you explain to us the slices, how thick these slices should be?
Yeah, so you can make the slices fairly thin, but the design of the system is we work with a burn layer to our advantage. And once Michael's done the slices, we'll show you how this works. So the dies are printed directly on the build plate. So we're using that burn layer for a clipping mechanism. But you can appreciate that if we've got a burn layer on the underside of the die, the burn layer will not only protrude like a swelling on the buccal and the palatal side, but it will also give you the swelling of the resin on the mesial and the distal side, which means if the slice is too thin, it's going to, the burn layer will interfere, each die will interfere with the other. And we'll show you what to do. So of course, if the slice is really bigger, that burn layer between the dies, mesial and distally, is not going to affect it, and you can just push the dies into the model base. But if you choose to go thin, that's okay. But we're just going to have to do a small adjustment on the mesial and distal side of the burn layer after you've printed that. And I'll take a piece of sandpaper and I'll give it 2 swipes on the sandpaper. I think it's about 120 grit, and that layer is then gone. But we've got to be careful. We don't want to get rid of the burn layer on the buccal and the palatal aspect, because this is part of our clipping mechanism.
Yeah, so that's exactly, Wolfgang, you've actually jumped quite a few steps ahead with the burn layer. But to diagrammatically show how this works, I'm just going to make a little bit of a diagram. So this step, what you're saying is, now you've got an angle here, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you've made the step so that this step is a certain distance.
Which
away.
it is. It is 0.8 millimeters, which means if you're printing 100 microns, by all means set the burn layer to 8 layers of 100 microns. Of course, we know that the first burn layers will be, I don't know, 30 or whatever seconds. So that causes that swelling. If you're printing finer at 50, then just adjust that accordingly. But keep in mind, we've got that set to 0.8 millimeters.
So Wolfgang, the burn layer would somehow look similar like that. It's like a beading that goes around the die. Is that correct?
That's correct. And this is why if the slice is, this is why I usually probably slice at 0.2 thickness. But if you want to go thinner, like I said, mesially and distally, give it 2 swipes over sandpaper and that is gone.
Yeah, so that's important to note. The other important thing to note is that you've taken the burn layer to clip into the VertXsplit, and this is the unique thing because you've actually made that part of the clipping device. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, so the underside of the plastic injection mold has got a recess that angles in the other way. And that swelling will then just push into that. So yeah, that kind of causes that clip. So if you were hypothetically to sand all of that away, you won't have that mechanism. You'll lose it. You can see there on the underside here. There's a specific angle. Yeah.
You're talking about this angle here,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
angle here. Yeah, yeah. So this is where the burn layer clips into, isn't it?
Yeah, no, from, yeah, the first line, yeah, exactly. You can see how it chamfers the angle and it slips into that mechanism. Now, of course, with plastic injection molding, the plastic does give a little bit of way. So it's not that critical that we keep, I mean, of course, the expansion of the model's got to, I mean, the crown has to retrofit on it. So, but we're not so dictated by every single micron of the resin expansion. So this is quite good. There's a bit of leeway that's given.
That's quite clever. That's smart. All right. So yeah, I think that sort of explains the burn layer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then what we would do is we would go into ditching exactly like we usually do. So I'm not going to spend that much time on. Actually, these dies have already been ditched. Yeah, these are already been ditched. This is not our normal model, but you then go into the engaging of the ditching.
Yeah.
So it's looking quite good. So are there any questions? No questions?
Guys, how deep are those grooves? Are they? Is it possible to kind of lower the model? I mean, I'm just thinking of kind of saving resin as much as anything else.
You know, if you can hollow this whole structure, so then you end up with.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay. Let us go that way. I'll see if I can go back far enough or not. I'm not sure.
We just do
I've
it
done it. Yeah, we can do it to the lower actually. Yeah. So let's see what that looks like if we do hollow this. Okay. So make hollow, and then we're going to click on hollow, and this time we're going to take the tool away from the entire thing, and we're going to apply it. So this cutting tool, we're going to move that out of the range like that, and we're going to apply that then like that. Okay. We know now that it's hollow on the inside. We'll just wait for it to apply. Okay, so if we look at this, we can see it's hollow. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is quite awesome. So if we had to cut this one, so let's section. I'll just section two pieces of it. Extrude, Shift D, extrude like that. Make a slice and accept it. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. Hey, wow. How smart, how cool is that?
Of course, you can put a honeycomb in it too.
Oh wow, this is really awesome. I love it. Wolfgang, you've tested this, have you?
Yeah,
does it give a bit of flexibility on the sides?
It does. But you've got to, when I print it like this, I have to put boiling water on the aluminium plate so that it kind of expands, and then I can get the dies off without just busting them off, because the solid structure is more resilient to removing from the build plate. So you've got to be more careful and mindful of that.
Good point. And you wouldn't be saving that much resin anyway, would you? I mean, sometimes we really need like solid dies to work on, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it depends. I mean, each to their own, you know. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just open up another file. Okay, and we're just going to bring in this tiny little model. Now, we probably wouldn't, I mean, if we would digitally create something like an inlay, we wouldn't bother making a model. But so this is just a demonstration how this would work on a miniature. Okay, so let's just try that. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unite them. So we're moving them into the collection and they unite. So if you only got one, you're just going to do it with one model, and that's it. So we're going to import our insert like that, and then from there we're going to place this insert. Now we're looking at from the front view. Of course, it's way too far away. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just move that up a little bit, and we're going to then copy that to the other side. And that one is a little bit too low. So I'm going to move this one up a little bit like that. Let's move that one down a little bit like that. Okay, then we're going to align these models. So using the G key and the R key, just to bring it where they should be. Something like to that effect. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our cutters. So back into the component module, cutters. We need 2 of these. So we're going to duplicate it, select that one, and then snap it to the upper, and then snap this one to the lower. And then we're going to trim around these models, and then we're going to unify. Okay, so that's unified. Of course, we don't want so much of the models. We're going to go and look at it from the bottom view. So from the bottom view, and we're going to trim this out as well.
So just by the way, so the length of the actual insert is 16 millimeters long. While the entire base is 18 millimeter stains. So that just gives you an idea of the length of the actual inserting piece into the plastic injection mold.
Okay, that's excellent. So this one we're going to delete, and we've ended up with dies like that we can insert then. And we would then do the same thing with the lower. And then from there, we can do our crowns or bridges. I wanted to show you this one because I made that zigzag going across there. And if we do make an inlay like this, so let's just hide this and hide this. I have made a video that the geometry, I mean, the scan, I don't know where it comes from, what type of a scanner, because it's like really quite rough. We would then smooth, before we would do it, we would smooth down this edge a little bit as well, and this edge is down as well a little bit. But yeah, this is a good way of doing it as well. Excellent. Okay.
Oh, good stuff.
Good. So I think we finished. If there's any questions, Wolfgang, have you still got some? Can you just show that quick video? Have you got that on hand where you're just snapping them into position? That's always quite impressive to look at.
Okay, you caught me off guard.
Sorry.
All right, just give me a minute, okay? So let me just find it.
If you don't have it, doesn't matter.
What's the situation with the articulation for the bases? Is there a are they interchangeable with the dinar or with artifacts? What's that?
Yeah, Wolf, can you just show the other part that we are designing that with a magnet that snaps in, because that's like the split system.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the magnet and it sort of snaps together.
Yeah. Okay. Just a minute. I'll just see if I can bring that up on my screen. Just a minute. I'll just play this video first. So share screen, just a minute. Okay, so can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so this is where I just take so they're freshly printed, and all I've done is I washed them, and then you can just snap them into the base. Can you hear the sound effect? No.
No, I can't.
Okay.
It's not playing that your computer sound is muted, I think.
All
But it
right.
doesn't matter.
Never mind. It's so you can just push them in there like that. So it doesn't matter what patient it is. They're all the same. Much of a muchness.
Snap.
Yeah.
Yeah, click.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I'll just stop sharing that, and I'll just see if I can bring in the actual, the other base. Just a minute.
Don't you have it next to you, the two snap together?
Oh yeah, I've got them here.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Wolf. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so can you see it?
Yeah. So that one is going to go onto an articulator with stone, with plaster.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
And then you're going to take, this one will have the magnet sitting in it. Magnet. And then these two will just clip into position. And the wedge here will allow for a future hinge articulator. So we can, if you want to use a hinge like that. Yeah. Anyways.
Excellent.
Great. Thanks. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, sorry to catch you off guard like that. you do it to me all the time, believe me. Yeah.
Okay, so this module is free to download. So have a play with it by all means. And the little bases are now ready in the shop. So if you want to test it out or whatever, you know. And if you've got feedback, give us feedback too.
Also, I'd just like to introduce Giovanni. He's one of our instructors as well. And we've tried a lot of his resins. And to our surprise, they are just absolutely fantastic. And so I just want to say hi to Giovanni and thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
Excellent.
Good. All right, so we'll just say thank you for joining, and then on Friday we're back for just displaying basic Blender skills and the model designer, and next week we'll tackle a new little project online. So we're happy to see you all, guys. Good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks very much, guys.
See you next time.
Cheers.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, man.
Bye.
Okay, macht's gut. Ciao.
Wiedersehen. Tschüss.
Alles gut stehen.